Namaskar and welcome to our show, To the Point. Today we have a very special guest with us whose ambition is to ensure that India talks and talks more. And he achieved this aim magnificently. Yes, we are talking about the telecommunications czar, Sam Pitroda, and we'll engage him to the point. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
You've earned your name, fame in US. You were well settled over there. What inspired you to come back in 1981?
Well, in 1981, I was young. I had built a small little business in US, sold it, and I came to India for the first time to Delhi. It was really 80, and tried to make a phone call to US, couldn't make a phone call. In those days, we had very few telephones, and a lot of phones didn't work. It used to take 15 years to get a telephone connection. A little bit of arrogance and a lot of ignorance said, I got to fix this. So I saw in it an opportunity and a challenge to solve a very complex problem. If I had known everything I know today, I would have probably never tried it. So ignorance at times can be a great asset. For someone who was born and raised in a small little village in Orissa, it was an opportunity to do something interesting.
Tell us something about your earlier days in Titlagar, Odisha. What kind of life did you lead? You come from middle class.
I was born and raised in a small little village called Titlagar in Orissa. There was no electricity, no running water, no schools, no pharmacy, no doctor. My parents came from Gujarat and settled in Orissa. We were 8 brothers and sisters. I would say lower middle class. My father had 4th grade education. But he had this great dream to make sure that all his children would get good education, like many Indian parents. So when Sardar Patel died, my parents decided to send us to Gujarat to study. I was about 9, 10 years old, and my older brother who is 2.5 years older than I am. We were both sent off to a boarding school in a small little village in Gujarat. Being Gujarati in Orissa, the only connection with Gujarat then was Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel. I still remember as a little boy when Gandhiji died, everybody in our house had to take a bath as if somebody in the family had died. So father had this dream that children should go to Gujarat and study. Studied there for 5 years and then decided to move to Baroda. In Baroda, I went to college, studied physics, got a degree in physics, and then master's in physics. And one fine morning, read in the newspaper that President Kennedy has decided to send man onto the moon. I was young, energetic, and perhaps stupid. Said, I want to go to America. But I didn't have the money. So wanted some scholarship, loan. Somebody told me that Orissa government will give you some money for travel. Applied, and through some, a little bit of effort, got, I believe, 3,000 rupees to buy a ticket. In those days, that was interesting, a lot of money. This was 1964. So then got an admission, so decided to go to US to get a PhD in physics. Took a boat from Mumbai to go to Genova via Karachi, Aden, Cairo, Naples, and Genova. Took a train from Genova to London, took a plane from London to New York, and took a bus from New York to Chicago. It was winter, landed up in this strange town, had never been anywhere, and didn't realize what I was getting into. But when you're young, you have a lot of hope and energy. Growing up in Orissa, I'd never made a telephone call in my life before going to America because there was no telephone. And if someone had phone in those days, he was too rich to be your friend. So there was no need to call anybody. Had never been into a 5-star hotel, didn't eat any meat or anything. So a lot of these experiences in US were very new. Went to college there and found out it takes 7 years to get a PhD in physics. So decided to change because I had a girlfriend here in Baroda. And I went to my professor and he said, if you want to do something quickly, change it to electrical engineering. So I changed it to electrical engineering, got a degree, worked for a while, then my girlfriend came there, got married in Chicago, then my younger brother came with her and started working.
When you came back to India, you tried to modernize the communication system over here and you had to face lots of opposition. How you managed it?
I don't think it is about opposition. It is a lot of about unknowns. When I came here, started talking about telecom, IT, software, I saw in Rajiv Gandhi the real leadership and support and political will. Without his political will, I don't think I would have been able to do anything. He's the one who provided the kind of backing that I needed. He believed in the idea. I'd given a presentation to Mrs. Gandhi.
What was that first meeting like, sir? I would like you to tell us and to the audience.
In 1980 or 81, after a lot of effort, I was given 1 hour by Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, to make her a presentation on telecom. And my message was that telecom and IT can be used for nation building. It can transform this country. And in 1980, this was a wild idea. And the message was that we can do it on our own. We don't need multinationals. We don't need somebody's technology. We have enough young talent to develop and design digital switching products to meet India's needs.
Which means you had innate faith in the youth of India.
Absolutely. In the talent.
Yes.
And I had this plan for a new strategy. Strategy was to focus on access to telephone as opposed to telephone density. Focus on smaller electronic exchanges which meet the conditions in rural India as opposed to urban India.
Your own background in Titlagar did it play some role while you were transforming the rural landscape? You designed those small rural exchanges. What kind of impact did it had?
It may have had some impact, but everyone knows that India lives in rural areas, more so then than now. Everyone knows that rural India needs more development. So my idea was to really connect the country. And to connect the country, first you have to connect rural India. Urban India would get connected anyway. So world over, most of the products were designed for urban elite, right, as opposed to rural poor. So we had to design product to meet Indian conditions, temperature, humidity, ecosystem. At the same time, we had to design products to meet the needs of the rural community. So at this presentation, when I talked about all these things, I saw in Rajiv Gandhi understanding of a lot of these ideas. We met there for the first time, and I realized that if I want to do anything in India at this stage in the development, I have to rely on him. And he provided the right kind of support system. Then unfortunately, Mrs. Gandhi died. Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister. And at that point in time, I decided to come back with my family. By then, Center for Development of Telematics was set up with 400-500 young talented people.
How you selected that team, sir? And how you inspired them to achieve what you had thought of?
I had several other colleagues. I had Mr. Mimamsi from Telecom Department, Dr. Pitke from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, who helped me in bringing their core team of 15 people each. And then we hired people from the open market. And a lot of the IIT graduates applied then. And I saw one and I saw two, and I said, look, you don't need to interview these kids. If you are from IIT or from some of the other good schools, just hire them. We were not looking for people with experience. We were looking for people with energy, enthusiasm, raw talent, and people who are willing to take risk and learn new things.
It was a long haul, the kind of task that you had actually taken up. There must have been some low points also.
I don't think there were low points, because a lot of the strength comes from inside and not from outside. He was great and he was a support system. But at the end of the day, I had to build my strength from within. Because I had given up my US nationality. Right. I had moved my family here. I had sort of stopped working. I had no income. And I had this huge task ahead of us with 500 young people trying to build this unknown product. So it was quite an interesting challenge. So the strength and motivation had to come from within as opposed to from outside. But I would say overall everyone was very supportive. A lot of people in media, intellectuals, academicians, and a lot of other political people were equally supportive.
We'll go for a short break. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Today our esteemed guest is Sri Sam Pitroda, and we are talking about the telecommunication and host of other issues. Sir, your relationship with Rajiv Gandhi was something special. Can you share some anecdotes with us?
Oh, there are lots of anecdotes to share. But the bottom line is, he provided the political leadership, political will to really try new things in telecom. He realized that telecom and IT would be critical to nation building. He had the political will and I had the technical capabilities. So it was a great combination. He gave me all the freedom and flexibility.
Any special memories?
Lots and lots of memories.
Can you share this with us?
Oh my God, there are so many interesting things,
Some of them.
Oh, when we had our first rural exchange working, I called him and said, I want to show it to you. And he said, why don't you set it up outside my office? So we set up demonstration outside his office in South Block. And I had a lot of young kids, engineers there, and he shook hands with everybody, and he was very warm, and he asked questions, and he took interest. And it was motivating to a lot of our young engineers. Whenever we needed him to motivate our team, he was always there.
Why did you went back in 1990?
I had a heart attack in 1990. I had a quadruple bypass. Rajiv Gandhi got killed, and I had run out of money. I had spent by then decade. I had no income. What looked like a lot of money in 80s turned out to be very little money in 90s. I had 2 kids ready to go to college in America. I had mother, my father had died by then. I had mother who had some health issues. So I had to go earn to put my family life in order. So I had to go back. But when I went back to US, I didn't have a visa to go back. So I went back on a tourist visa. But on tourist visa, you couldn't work. So I had to really struggle and put my life back in order.
So tell me about your current projects, since you are currently advisor to the Prime Minister.
I would say I'm lucky to have some very interesting projects to work on. Earlier, as chairman of the National Knowledge Commission, I had an opportunity to work with some very talented colleagues on knowledge institutions and infrastructure. We had a great team. We spent 3 years really looking at all kinds of issues related to knowledge, with clear focus on access to knowledge, knowledge concepts, knowledge creation, knowledge applications, and role of knowledge in governance. So on one hand, we looked at broadband connectivity, knowledge networks, affirmative action programs, libraries, and on the other hand, we looked at all education, school education, higher education, distance learning, vocational education. We also looked at innovations and entrepreneurship. Sum total, we had 27 different subjects. Knowledge Commission submitted recommendations and then relied on government to implement these through various ministries. Now, as advisor to the Prime Minister on public information infrastructure and innovations, I have an opportunity to work on several large projects. One, connectivity to 250,000 gram panchayats to provide optical fiber link. The idea is to provide broadband so that you can use that to really manage panchayat better, provide information related to government services, delivery of public services, whether it has to do with birth certificate, death certificate, land record, or improve education, health, agricultural services, financial services. Again, the focus is rural India, bottom of the pyramid, inclusive growth, focus on improving access, scalability, affordability. All of these are very, very important concepts. Then we have a national knowledge network to connect all our universities and libraries and all that Dr. Chidambaram is driving. Then today, for example, we had a meeting on GIS that Dr. Kasturi Rangan is driving. So we are setting up various platforms along with broadband connectivity to Panchayat to deliver public services. Nandan is working on UID, then applications, software development, a lot of that is being done by NIC. So public information infrastructure is one big area, but then I'm also working on innovations as part of the National Innovation Council, where we have a great team. Then working on smart grid, railway modernization, role of ICT in railways. We are looking at, with Dr. V. Krishnamurthy, electronic manufacturing, semiconductor fab. So there's some very interesting projects to work on.
You've said that technology till now has served the haves, but not have-nots.
I would not say that, but I have said that most of the innovations have benefited more people at the top of the pyramid. But in a sense, we all have benefited, even people at the bottom of the pyramid, from technology, because longevity has increased, infant mortality has decreased, communication has improved, energy supply has improved. All of these things have to do with technology. But I think technology can do a lot more for the people at the bottom of the pyramid.
You also said that the next 10 years are going to be decisive. They're going to impact the next 100 years down the pipeline. What are the underlying thoughts? Why have you made, can I call this a prophecy?
It's very clear that as we get more and more into 21st century, information infrastructure is going to be very critical. And that's why I believe technology will play an important role in the 21st century to deliver public services, to deliver financial services, to deliver education, to deliver healthcare, because internet has essentially changed everything.
Where you see India in the emerging world order right now, because we are an IT superpower right now.
I think we have a long way to go. So I won't worry too much about being a superpower. I would really focus on delivering 400 people below poverty line development, prosperity. Essentially, we have three fundamental challenges in India, and I have said this time and time again. One, disparity. Disparity between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated, uneducated. Two, demography. We have 550 million young below age of 25. How do we create future for them? Prosperity, skill set, education, health services. All of these are big challenges. And the third is development. How do we expedite the process of development through better use of technology, whether it is biotech, nanotech, IT, or whatever? I think these are the real challenges for us in India.
So what kind of technologies or innovations you think are going to drive the future growth of the country?
I think first we need to create lots and lots of new jobs. We need to create 10, 20 million new jobs a year. We need to keep up with this 9 to 10% growth for next 20 years. And that requires innovation. If we don't innovate, if we don't develop skill set, we won't be globally competitive. And all of this requires us to do things differently. All of this requires us to use new tools and new technology to improve productivity, efficiency, reduce cost. And that's a challenge.
We are lagging behind China in most of the indices of development. What are the causes and what kind of solutions you offer?
China is about 15 years ahead of us. They started their modernization program 10, 15 years before we did. Our liberalization really started in 1991. So our private entrepreneurs and license Raj or dismantling of license Raj is comparatively 20-year program. China also has a different way of implementing things. In democracy, it takes little time to implement. But I personally believe it is more sustainable.
You come from Gujarat, but Gujarat has not featured in your scheme of things.
No, I think Gujarat has featured in. I go to Gujarat on and off. Gujarat is doing very well compared to other states. So when you look at, overall sort of prosperity in various states, you find that Gujarat doesn't need that much of push compared to other states.
And how can technology help in reducing corruption?
We have right to information, which was a major initiative by the UPA government. I mean, I give UPA government a lot of credit for big initiatives, whether it is RTI, Right to Education, NREGA, National Knowledge Network, Knowledge Commission, connectivity to 250,000 panchayats, Rural Health Mission. I mean, there are tons of initiatives. But telecom, IT growth has been the key, along with liberalization. So when you have RTI, people ask for information. Information is not organized, not available in real time. It is locked up in Nadawali file. So IT comes into play when you begin to digitize information, make it more accessible, organize, and provide it in real time. Take, for example, court cases. We have 32 million court cases pending. It takes us 15 years to get justice. Can we use IT to organize this information to provide time to justice and reduce that from 15 years to 3 years? That's the challenge. So IT can indeed help in reducing corruption because IT brings about openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, and decentralization. IT is a very powerful tool. So once you begin to create transparency, accountability, hopefully corruption would be reduced.
You had made a big difference with the due course of time in the history of the nation. How can India get 100 more Sam Pitrodas?
Oh, I'm sure there are lots of people doing lots of interesting things in this country. This is a country of 1.2 billion people. A lot of committed, talented individuals.
What kind of message would you like to give to the youth of the country?
Selfless, hard work. It builds your character. It gives you joy. It gives you purpose in life. And also at the same time focus on one particular field where you acquire domain expertise. If you build that core competence, it gives you the foundation you need. Foundation doesn't come from horizontal. Foundation comes from vertical.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you.
So this was Sam Pitroda. See you next time in a fresh episode of To The Point. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.